bicycles and cycling infrastructure are a very good tool for gentrification and elite urbanization. And I know I'm saying that from my e-bike. That's the irony. I know this can be a little bit controversial, but however, just hear me out. I'll have to share some stories with you, and then you can share your opinion in the comment section. Before I continue, I would like to clarify it that I'm basing these stories on the experience in Brussels, so in Belgian context, but I also have heard a lot about this kind of same feelings and impressions ongoing in the very proud nations, cycling nations of like Netherlands and Denmark. And also I want to just make sure that we in stripping architecture, we often advocate for cycling. We find it as a socially and environmentally sustainable tool for navigating the city. And we are often very against the car industry and their tough lobby where their spreadsheets for designing cars are actually designing our cities. But another time we'll talk more about that. So the first story, cycling infrastructure can increase the social gap and segregation feeling. I know. So right now I'm cycling along the canal in Brussels. And as you know, as every canals in other cities, there is a legacy of industrial architecture, which is merged with houses from lower income families. I rather want to say families with unstable income. As it's a trend in other places, because the real estate here is very low, normally there is a trend of densification of these places and making more residences. In addition to that, you know, Brussels is not that much a flat city. There is a lot of hills. Cycling is not that much easier as in the Netherlands or in Denmark. But the canal, it's a flat infrastructure path that kind of connects different neighborhoods and is very good for cycling down along it and to reach different destinations. However, that's also a very good starting point for building more housing, right? You have low real estate value, and then you have a nice flat area as a cycling infrastructure. So for developers, that's like a pretty nice gem. And if you're a person who lives here in these areas and you come from a family with unstable income, from time to time, as they are developing these places more and more, you start noticing on these bicycle lanes over here, people who are cycling with this kind of expensive sport bicycles, dressed in the sports suits, and they're like going pretty fast, like maybe 40-30 kilometers an hour, and they're using this infrastructure as a commuter to the work, which is not a problem, right? But when the people around from the lower income families are looking at these people and they see these like very expensive sports suits and bicycles, they immediately recognize that that's about person who is a little bit, like, you know, financially more powerful than them. For example, if you have to safely secure those kind of bicycles you can see now in the background, those are expensive bicycles and you have to put them in some very well protected, safe residential space, garage or whatever. And that's immediately a hidden language to the people from the surrounding that, okay, so there's more and more people circulating around who are having more money. Okay, no problem. Then you start seeing more people using cargo bicycles. You see, for the cargo bicycles, they're very good, but really you have to have a good garage where to store them. And unlike the car, which unfortunately still in Brussels you can park it whenever you want and you just pay some minimal fee, the cargo bike, you cannot do that with the cargo bike. So you have to have some decent garage to place your cargo bike. Also, many people who are again from the families with low income, they live in this typical Brussels house, typical row Brussels houses. And I don't know how much you know, but usually when you open the door, the hallways are very narrow, there's a staircase, and there's no way we can fit a cargo bike. So again, those people immediately know that, aha, if you have a cargo bike, you also have to have a big house, or have to have another garage where you can put the cargo bike. And that's why they opt for having a car. Like, it's not like feasible having a cargo bike. Then you start seeing more people on e-bikes, like me, for example. But many of the e-bikes, if you want to buy them and you want to transport one child or two children on your e-bike, they're very expensive. They're around 7, 8, 9,000 euros. And to a low-income family member, usually that means like, hey, I mean, for that amount, I will just buy a car. Yes, I will contribute to the CO2 emissions. I know I will be stuck in the traffic, but I kind of have extension of my house outdoor, you know, like I can sit somewhere, it's a closed place. And also, many of those people who have e-bikes or cargo bikes, that's their secondary transport tool for the city. All of them, they have the car somewhere parked home and they're using it like it should be. They're using it for going on further destinations and they're using the bicycle only for the cities. But these people who are like from the low-income families, they really can't afford having this kind of two transport vehicles home, car and cargo bike or e-bike. And they opt for the car, you know. So when you pack it all together, along the canal, you start seeing more people who are using sport bikes, dressed in the sports suits. They see more cargo bikes, and they see more people using e-bikes. And that's all sign that the place around them is being developed mainly for the higher income class or the higher middle income families. And in that way, they start having this feeling of segregation, and the social gap that already exists is getting to be reinforced and stronger. And with that kind of attitude, we cannot build strong, united communities. Second case, removing local businesses. So right now I'm cycling along one big boulevard in Brussels. This boulevard has two streets. In the middle between those two streets, there is a big open space which is usually used as a car parking. Right now, as you can see in the background, the cars from that parking are removed, and this space is temporarily used by the Luna Park that comes here for the 2 months in Brussels, July and August. And these streets, they have made these nice bicycle lanes that are nice and safe and inviting for cyclists. However, on this street as well, on the building fronts, in the ground floor, as you can see over here, there are many businesses of people, local businesses, where they work as a local transport from different items and stuff from Brussels to different places, destinations such as Morocco, even a little bit further down to Tunisia and so on. So what happens is that people bring their stuff here to these places, people pack them on the streets and they drive them, transport them to the seashore of Belgium, Antwerp or somewhere in the Netherlands maybe, to ship them overseas. Now all of those businesses are using the front of the facade, the street front, as a place where to package the items, and additionally they're also using the car parking place in the center to park their vans and to get ready for shipping. Instead of designing nice bicycle lanes in the section between the streets, which will be bicycle lane with trees following the tram line, no much sound pollution and so on, they have designed these bicycle lanes here, and they're actually conflicting with these local businesses. Yes, because cyclists are getting very often pissed because they cannot cycle in a continuous manner, and also the local businesses are also getting pissed because they're saying like, hey, we've been here working for 30 years, our families depend on this kind of entrepreneurship, and have respect about it. There is one person who is working with the shipments, and there is more who are working with the shipments over here, and somehow it looks like the cyclists are winning the game because they're just advocating for more safe spaces and bicycle lanes, and with that they're somehow taking the lead with their agenda. And at the same time, those local businesses are being left on their own to kind of struggle for their life. And I understand the cyclists, I'm a cyclist, but I also understand the business owners, because like this is their way of, they found a creative way how to use the local dynamics of Brussels, that it's needed to someone, shipping items to overseas. And that works. There is like maybe around 15 or 20 places that are using actively the street front, and they need the street front for these services, and often that is conflicting with the continuous cycling experience. And in that sense, we can see how the cycling infrastructure, the standardized application of cycling solution on front of the building fronts, kinda it threatens the local businesses, and that's not a good job. And it's also threatening the businesses of those who are like vulnerable. We're not talking about some multi-millionaire businesses. This is a local family business that's like lasts for 20 years and they're trying to make living off of it. So we have to have the respect for that. And yeah, there could have been another solution for the cycling lane. And the final case is this one, threatening local cultures. Right now I'm cycling in this neighborhood called Matonga, and it's very interesting because particularly this street over here is populated by mainly minorities from Western Africa, such as Cameroon or Senegal. And here in these places you can find a lot of shops with exotic products inside, with interesting new services that you cannot find everywhere in Brussels and in Belgium. It's like a shopping street, but you can feel that there is a different vibe. For example, there are people hanging on the corners, people who are going from door to door or from shop to shop. And yes, there is some double parking of the cars, and yes, there is some, like you can often see how cars are just stopping and pulling over to just get to the local shop and buy something. But you know, it happens just here, and it's very dynamic and very interesting, and not happens everywhere in Belgium and in Brussels. And as such, I think it's a rare thing, and when something is rare, in our personal opinion, it should be preserved. However, since this place is also populated by people who are not very financially powerful, but also at the same time this place is right next to the city center of Brussels, it's a very nice gem for developers. And they try to introduce here some new housing units. But because there is a very strong community here, very like specific culture, that's like you have to accept it. Not many people were keen on in moving here, but slowly it started happening. And those who started moving here were, of course, middle-income families who are heavy users of bicycles. And they start using this street, and apparently this street, yes, of course, it was a bit dangerous. As you can see now, there are cars like pulling over there. They're a bit dangerous, and they immediately made a quick protest about it, that like, we want safer street and safer cycling infrastructure. Within 10 days, there was a reaction from the authorities. Now I don't know exactly how quick, but it was a quick reaction. They installed these white poles that make separation from the cycling lane from the cars. And, you know, to make the street a little bit safer. That encouraged more and more people from the higher income families to use this street as a cycling street. And that was a good sign for the developers, like, okay, things are changing, and we can start maybe promoting, marketing this place as a good new middle class space. And yes, that's what happened. Started to develop more and more started moving in, and there's like more bicycles now here like using this street. And with that, slowly but surely, now they start developing more residential units. And this local culture, this local dynamics that was happening here now shrank to only this street. I'm not against safety in cycling, of course, I mean, that's like very important. But what is bigger problem is that at the first place, if this culture here like so unique and you cannot find it anywhere around Brussels and Belgium, we have to preserve it. And the question is like, do we really have to be cycling on this street? If you come as a middle income, or if you are heavy bicycle users, okay, go and use the streets around. Like, escape this street, like let it be as it is. Secondly, if there are multiple challenges on this street, fine, we can accept that. Why it was not proposed before to be redeveloped? Not to be with these like standardized pedestrianized and cycling streets like we see all over Western Europe, like remove the sidewalks, put the street, make the shared space, common space, and then you have here and there a little bit of the cycling lanes. No, why didn't you just make a survey, a questionnaire, make an open discussion about it, like invite the local communities to share their opinions and try to design some safe, interesting space that will be really so special that everyone will come here for it because it's special, not because it's like just common and standardized. The final point is that how come that these middle income families, high income families just like made the one protest and they were immediately heard by the authorities? How is not that happening with the vulnerable social groups? That's something like that bothers me a lot. In that sense, you can see how implementation of standardized cycling infrastructure and cycling solutions is actually harming the local dynamics and local cultures, which is a problem.
And finally, as we're always doing, we would like to quickly wrap up this video with one of our illustration sketches. As you can see on the illustration over here, we have presented how a bicycle lane is, without any sense and logic, going all over the buildings through the urban fabric of the city. With this, we want to point to something we have already mentioned over here. Very often we see how the bicycle lanes and the bicycle infrastructure is being applied without too much knowledge, sense and feeling to the local communities of the city, and what kind of negative consequences that might have. Thank you very much for staying with us. As always, follow, share, comment, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.